thought I'd tackle something slightly new this time. So this is an argument I had with a progressive that went on for a little while. We're just going to do the excerpts of it because even though apparently people just reading Reddit gets lots of views on this channel, I don't recall you guys just liking me fucking reading stupid arguments I had on Discord. But I've tackled a lot of things that progressives are really, really badly wrong about. Stuff like race, social issues, welfare state type shit, immigration. But how about something that I at least have some pro-progressive positions on, but I have a problem with the fact that just progressives never ever know what they're talking about at all. Because I've said they always lie, but there's a slight caveat to that. Sometimes a progressive is honestly trying to defend a position that they honestly hold and they honestly believe is good and maybe even comes from a good place in their little black heart, but they're so fucking stupid that they can't figure out how to promote this position reasonably. And one of those is global warming, climate change. So I was talking to this progressive and was asking them a question about how global warming is very complicated, about how to address it. And they said, no, it's not complicated. Just stop using oil. And I used one point to explain to them why it doesn't just work that way. You can't just stop using oil overnight. And that reason is global food distribution. Most places import food, at least somewhat, in order to feed their population. And most of that food is transported via large freighters that use lots of oil and can't use alternative sources of energy as they exist right now, not even nuclear, although that's closer than any other excuse. This guy says we can use electronic boats. So this guy is called Iman. So I said, how do we distribute food with no oil? And he said, are you fucking joking? You're joking, right? And I said, no, how do you distribute food with no oil? And I basically explained to him that I would love for shit like solar-powered freighters to work, but that's some sci-fi shit, and it doesn't work that way. And I asked him, are you going to wind sail billions of tons of food around the world? And he just responds, thinking he's being witty, just two words: electric boats. And I said, oh my god, magic boats. And he's like, what? No, what do you mean magic, you fucking retard? We'll just use electric boats. And I said, well, the problem with that is physics, Newtonian physics. How are you going to push billions of tons using electricity as a source? And he said, and I quote, well, the batteries are really big and full of electricity. So he thought I was a retard, which is just, oh my God. So I said, no. And then he did a slight tangent here. I used to be on this kind of shitty podcast called Citations Needed, which was more named that because the name, you have no idea what you're talking about, you fucking idiot, is a little long. Excuse me. So, the problem with the idea of citations needed is what progressives, chief one come to mind, Vosh, thinks of as a citation, is just Googling something. You can't read that, but obviously they just Googled something and it says China launches world's first all-electric cargo ship. And another friend of his, because I was arguing more or less with three people, but only focusing on one of them, said I was getting gang raped because he had brought up a citation. And I said, just the headline of this, which is obviously all the progressives ever read, is the headlines, which is why fake news usually takes advantage of the fact where sometimes the article even tells the truth, but the truth is like in the last couple of paragraphs and the headline is a lie. So that's not quite what's going on here, but it says China launches world's first all-electric cargo ship on oilprice.com. A Chinese shipbuilder has just launched the world's first all-electric cargo ship, which will be used to ship cargo up and down the country's rivers. That last word is the first thing I noticed. Let's actually read the article to find out how large these river boats are and what they can actually do. So I read the article, just the first couple of paragraphs, and I cite it, and it says it can push 2,200 tons at 8 miles per hour up to 50 miles upriver. We don't need oil for transatlantic and trans-Pacific global oceanic shipping because... And I just responded to him, I actually just owned the fuck out of you, and guess why? I read the fucking citation, you idiot. He responds, quoting me, yeah, it can push 2,200 tons at 8 miles per hour up to 50 whole miles. We don't need oil for transatlantic shipping. And he just responds, well, make more boats. And then all I could respond for the next several minutes, he continues to try to explain how I'm somehow stupid. And all I would say to him for 6 whole minutes is 50-mile range, 50-mile range, 50-mile range, 50 miles to cross the ocean, 50-mile range, 50-mile range. He didn't get it. He thought, oh, we'll just, recharge the batteries on thin air and go 50 miles at a time across thousands of miles of ocean shipping lanes. And towards the end of this conversation, we're just going to skip all that shit and keep this video nice, short, and sweet. His idea was, oh, well, if the boats don't work, the electric planes will handle the billions of tons of freight. Electric planes. Yeah, electric planes can fly pretty good. How much weight can they carry and how far can they carry it with electric planes? And before I left that conversation, I also mentioned, like, you don't have any idea what you're talking about. There's things that fuck with the heads of environmentalists all the time. How about solar panels aren't carbon neutral? The rare minerals and metals that are in solar panels and shit like that, and the energy consumption and carbon emissions in constructing things like the giant wind turbines are actually not carbon neutral. They're just feel-good, clean energy. Okay, there's really, in my opinion, only one potential secret weapon for how to get off of a lot of coal, oil, and electric gas, and that's nuclear energy. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. And I just say, look, environmentalists are very often have opinions that just fly right in the face of what they say they want. You can't be about trying to feed the world and being against genetically modified foods. You can't be against GMOs. If you want, like, look, you can't just grow crops anywhere. You gotta have to develop drought-resistant, pest-resistant, disease-resistant plants that grow very easily in order to get past how much food we need. And overpopulation might be one of the dumbest worries of certain environmentalists, because we totally can feed billions of people. It's just a matter of having to distribute it, having global diplomacy, and having the new farming tech to be able to produce the amount of food to meet the demand. And if you're against something that is so crucial to feeding over 10 billion people, GMOs, you're a fucking idiot. Because what? What do you think? You're going to eat a fucking corn and turn into a Resident Evil zombie or something? These are just retard people. And this is, of course, progressives are, of course, the party of science realism. Everybody else is a science denier. Meanwhile, they just don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, climate change is probably going to raise oil levels. Sorry about my throat and everything. But, you can't just fix it by just abolishing oil and building train platforms across the ocean. It just doesn't work that way. As far as things are right now, there are certain things that are always going to have to be combustible. And last, I'll leave you with this idea. Or combustible fossil fuels is what I mean. The last thing I'll leave you with, as my throat's all froggy, is, dude, you just have to deal with the fact that China and India are roughly 80% of all carbon emission and all global pollution, ocean polluting, all that. If you are very, very serious about environmentalism and climate change, you should be advocating for the United States to go to war with China and India and shut them down and make them act like us. Because America is relatively Low overall carbon footprint compared to most of the world. We plant a lot of shit. We actually don't have all that many of emissions in comparison. China is a fucking smog monster, and India is a literal garbage heap. So, what are you going to do, dude? Do you really care about the planet? Because America is not the problem. I know that people all around the world, including in America, have been trained to blame America for fucking everything because you're all a bunch of envious, jealous fucking little bitches who can't get your shit together and admit that America's better than you. And you can be as good as America, excuse me, if you emulate America. But you don't. So anyway, keep being a hater and realize that most things, once you get past the really simple issues like race, like morality, like even economics is relatively simple when you're faced with global trade and shit. Like that becomes extremely complex, and you just can't stick a bunch of batteries and solar panels on a giant freighter and expect to keep up the supply of shipping around the world. It just doesn't work that way. Thanks for watching.